All right, let's talk about something that every single developer deals with: code reviews. We're going to look at a framework that helps you move beyond just catching typos and actually deliver feedback that matters, saving everyone time and seriously leveling up your team's code. So, does this sound familiar? You push up some new code, you're ready for a big, meaty discussion about the architecture, and the first 10 comments are about trailing whitespace. Or, my favorite, a 20-comment thread on whether a variable should be called item or element. Yeah, that's called bike shedding, and it's basically where productive code reviews go to die. But, it doesn't have to be this way. There's a much more strategic way to do this, a method that helps you filter out all that noise and focus your brainpower on what's actually going to matter in the long run. And this quote, it just hits the nail on the head, right? We get so caught up in the cosmetic stuff, the color of the bike shed, so to speak, that we completely miss the fact that the building's foundation has a giant cracking. Okay, so here's the big idea, the thing that changes everything. It's simple. Not all feedback is created equal. The key is to run every potential comment you have through one single filter. How much of a pain is this going to be to change later on? Just let that sink in for a second. Your job as a reviewer isn't to find every single tiny flaw. It's to find the flaws that are going to be 10 times, 100 times more painful to fix once they're merged, and other code starts depending on them. This is the bedrock of our entire framework. So this framework basically splits all feedback into two big buckets. On the left, you got the stuff that's relatively easy to change later: code styles, tests, documentation. But on the right, well, that's the heavy stuff, the core logic and the public APIs. These things are incredibly expensive and difficult to change once they're out in the wild. So let's start with that right-hand column, the high-effort, high-stakes stuff. This is where you, the human reviewer, need to be spending the vast majority of your energy. We're talking about the architectural decisions that really set the course for everything that comes after. Think about it. No automated tool, no linter is going to tell you that the fundamental approach is wrong. It can't understand the business context or what we might need in the future. That's your job. This is the kind of deep thinking that really separates a good developer from a great one. So what does this actually look like? Well, you're asking the big questions. Does this code even do what it's supposed to do? Is the logic sound? Are we handling errors gracefully? And critically, is it secure? A missing semicolon is an easy fix. A SQL injection vulnerability is a total catastrophe. Next up, API semantics. You really have to think of an API as a public promise. The minute other teams or customers start using it, changing it becomes a nightmare of coordination and breaking changes. So you have to ask, is this API consistent? Does it hide its complexity? And maybe most importantly, is this a dead end built for just one thing, or is it a genuinely useful tool for the future? Okay, so we've covered the high-stakes items. Now, let's flip over to the other side of our framework. Let's talk about the supporting details, the things that are definitely important but shouldn't be eating up your valuable review time. The guiding principle here couldn't be simpler. If a computer can check it, a computer should check it. Your time and brainpower are just too valuable to be spent pretending to be a human linter. And this is the classic example. Formatting, naming conventions, even checking for repeated code, these are solved problems. Just set up a linter and an auto-formatter in your project and make it part of your pipeline. The debate is over before it even starts, and that frees you up to focus on what really matters. Next, tests. Of course, tests are absolutely critical, but checking if they pass, that's the job of your CI/CD pipeline, not your eyeballs. Your role in the review is to ask a bigger question. Are these the right tests? Are we covering the tricky corner cases? Is the balance between unit tests and integration tests right? You're there to review the testing strategy, not just the green checkmark. And finally, documentation. Yeah, it needs to be there and it needs to be clear, but fixing a typo in a README file is a 5-second change. It has a super low future cost. So check that it exists, make sure it makes sense, but please don't let a grammar debate get in the way of a review of the core architecture. So, here's the bottom line. By consciously separating these different types of feedback, you can build a review process that's just smarter, faster, and way more effective for you and your whole team. So here it is, all wrapped up in a simple plan. First, automate everything you can. Let the robots fix the easy stuff before a human ever sees it. Second, when you do start your review, make a deliberate choice to focus on semantics, the meaning, the logic, not just the style. Spend 80% of your effort questioning the core implementation and the API. That's how you provide high-impact feedback on the foundation, not just the paint color. And that really brings us to the end. The big takeaway is clear. Stop policing semicolons and start being an architect, even when you're just doing a review. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Now that you have this framework, what's the one thing you're going to do differently in your very next code review? Thanks for tuning in.